This is Second Down on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cam Urshery taking into the weekend here as we guys are just headed towards the doldrum of sports. Just sitting out, lost at sea. Really feel like the next 40 plus days until the Masters gets here because right now we don't have any baseball. Basketball is pretty boring right now.
I love it.
What are the intriguing storylines in basketball? Because we talked about this. Everybody makes the playoffs, so the regular season doesn't matter. And you have people or you have players who are significant contributors. They're not really playing a whole lot. James Harden got traded like 3 months ago, it seems, and he's making his debut tonight for the 76ers. LeBron, is he kind of playing right now?
I mean, yeah, he's playing tonight. Yeah, everybody. Okay. Melo, LeBron, Westbrook, AD's off the crutches.
That is a lit team in 2016. So it's just NBA is kind of boring right now. We don't have baseball. Football's over. I guess we have the USFL coming up. But just as we take you into the doldrums of sports. But this is my favorite time of the year, though, because in October, we have so much that we can't get to it all. Right? We could just literally come on here, do no show prep, and just go football. And just talk about like 9 different storylines or one storyline for an entire hour. And all right, we'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Right? Easy. Got to get creative in these months. We have the draft coming up. We have the Masters coming up. Here in a couple of weeks, we get to watch people run around in their underwear. That's exciting.
For some people. One of the most annoying parts of the year.
Cam, do you like the combine?
No.
Like in your life, it's pointless. In your life, if you had to guess how many times you've or how many minutes you have spent watching the NFL Combine.
I know back in the day I used to watch it a lot. That's when I was like younger, I guess you could say that. Like I know it's always been Lucas Oil Stadium. Yeah. So I do know that, but no, I don't watch it anymore. It's pointless. After I've seen DK Metcalf go to the Combine and do his thing and boost his stock and other guys, I'm like, it's pointless. I don't think it's any reason.
And there's a difference, though, in that question is because we're sports fans, right? So that means we do things that we don't like just because it's sports. So, like, the question of, like, how much have you watched I've watched the Combine a lot. I don't like it. I don't want to. But
so why do you do it?
Just human, fan nature. You know, it just
it's in your subconscious. Time of the year, man.
Like, you know what I mean? There's a football on a field. There's a football on a field, so your subconscious as a fan is like, well, turn that on.
Sports-wise, this is my favorite time of the year.
Cam, what the hell are you talking about?
It is.
Cam.
You're after the All-Star break for NBA. Then you have NFL free agency come up. That's actually becoming more cool over the past couple of years. It has. Then you have the NFL draft, which is obviously I think the coolest thing throughout the year. You get to see all those guys get picked in 7 rounds.
The coolest part of the NFL season is the draft?
Yeah.
Not the Super Bowl?
No,
that's the most loser.
Think about it.
Statement ever
made.
The
Super Bowl hasn't the Super Bowl this year was decent.
No, Cam, admit what you just said. Your favorite time of the year is the draft because your team usually sucks, and it's the only hopeful time of the year.
That could be it, but
sounds
I actually
like seeing.
I like seeing new guys get opportunities and just new players come in, new crop of people.
Okay, but get opportunities to do what?
Play.
Which is it win?
Play. Huh?
Which is win?
No, in August. But I also like to see them. I also like to see the chaos. So you
like the thought of them playing more than them actually playing?
Yeah, I like to see the chaos, man. But the big part of why this is my favorite time of the year, NBA. Come on, it's after the All-Star break.
If that's the case, if your favorite time of the year is NBA, I give you say late February, early March is your favorite. Let me present to you October, where it's just nothing but football, basically every day of the week. NBA starting off. Major League Baseball postseason.
It's cool. I know. Oh well, NBA starting off. That doesn't really mean nothing. The regular season doesn't count.
What did you just say? regular season doesn't matter.
Regular season. So you have your marquee matchups, but regular season doesn't count. College football.
I guess we have March Madness coming up.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I forgot about March Madness.
Well, March Madness doesn't matter around here.
It's fun. No, I love
Unless
March
you're at Savannah State, there's no postseason for a basketball team in Georgia.
It really matters to those.
No, they could do postseason. No, they're doing postseason play this year.
It really matters.
No, I said unless you're Savannah State.
Oh yeah, unless you're Savannah State, yeah. But
there's no postseason.
March Madness. I'm excited for that this year. I don't think it's a clear cut favorite. So
Oh, it's gonna be
I think
fun.
that's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be back in
Be like picking brackets and stuff.
yeah, it's gonna be back in full force finally for the first time in
Yeah,
a couple
for the
years
first
too,
time,
with
yeah.
with the pandemics and everything like
What's
that.
your
But
favorite
like,
time of the year,
but
BJ?
but hold on. I gotta get
Whoa.
this. I gotta get this dig in
Whoa.
first. I tried a second ago, but I gotta get this dig in first. Basketball season, especially March Madness, is really important around here to those people, those diehard Georgia
Oh
fans.
my God, Kevin, come
Who
on.
are also diehard Duke and North Carolina
All right,
basketball
Kevin.
fans. They just can't wait. They've been watching them since they were a kid, and nothing can pull them away from Duke and North Carolina basketball because they're such
All
Georgia
right, we get
football
it.
fans.
We get it.
I like
It's
Kentucky
ridiculous.
for
It's
a
like a
couple of years.
sickness down here. I don't understand it.
I did like Kentucky basketball for a couple of years, but that was like growing up with like John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins
There's
and
a
Anthony
difference, though.
Davis.
No, but
There's a difference in that.
But those people, they have something like a wire that got crossed in their sports fandom. They think that they have to root for a team that competes, right? And
Oh,
so if you're a Georgia football fan, which is a torturous thing in and of itself, the
Yeah.
last 4 decades, but if you're that, then if you're basketball, you want somebody to root for it, and you can't root for a team that never makes it,
Sure you can.
right? No, but what I'm saying is, if you're somebody who wants to have someone to root for, literally, if every single year the team looks like they do right now, which Georgia does a lot, then yeah, if you want
I
games,
understand.
if you want games with stakes, fine. I'm not saying I do this because I find it fraudulent and you're kind of lame if you're pulling from multiple different cities and schools.
Sounds like
And
front
so-
runners to me.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just I find that kind of lame. But also, Kevin said that joke so many times in this exact chair that
I mean, that's
it's
fine.
it's
Like,
kind of lost its punch.
That's cool.
Like, they know
Just-
who they are. Like, how many times can you call somebody a fraud?
I mean, that's cool. Like, I'm not gonna stop saying something that I've been saying since like middle school, and I noticed in like middle school when I moved down here.
I'm not saying
Because
I'm not
Kevin
saying
said
Kevin
it too
invented the
much.
joke. I'm just saying
Like-
like Kevin has like killed that horse and kept kicking it until it turned into like a powder, and then he just keeps kicking it and it's gone, and now it's just like he's driving into the dirt, and it's in the dirt now, and he's digging a hole, and he just keeps on digging it like it's his favorite joke. He's got like 3 jokes, and that's one of
Yeah.
them.
Do y'all think down south is like? I mean, I think personally it's full of like bandwagons because I know a lot of like up north
No,
people.
that's not down
No.
south, man. That's everywhere.
But I know a lot of up north people that don't do that. Like I have a friend that he's an Ohio State, Duke basketball, what's it called? Golden State Warriors fan, a Patriots football fan.
It
I'm
doesn't sound like
your
your friend.
fandom is
Yeah.
crazy.
No, he's not a fan.
It doesn't
Not
like
a
a friend.
fan.
Crazy.
He's
And
not
then
a
you're a
fan.
Celtics. Sometimes cheer, and then you're cheering for the
where
Brooklyn
do we
Nets.
derive the word fan from?
Fanatic.
Fanatic.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
just kind of be a peripheral, like I pull for Ohio State. We call it Cody Queen. We call that a supporter. Unless it emotionally damages you when your team doesn't do well, you're not a fan. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's healthy to be a fan. It's not. We could be doing
No,
so
it's not
much.
healthy.
We could be doing so much positive stuff
Mhm.
with our brains and our passion and our emotions and just our drive. We could be doing so much more. But what do? We just hyper focus on these sports teams, and in the South in particular on these teenagers, and we allow it to emotionally affect us. And so your friend, and I say friend, and
Oh, he
Dude,
watches the
that's what
show.
I'm saying.
okay,
Like,
good.
yeah.
I hope
He
he's
watches
listening.
the show.
If he's
I don't know
pulling-
if he's watching
pulling for
today.
Ohio State and Duke, I'm assuming he's a Lakers fan. I don't
No,
know.
he's a Golden State Warriors
Okay,
fan.
there
That's
we go.
even worse,
Great.
though.
Great. Do
That's
you
worse.
think he actually emotionally cares when Golden State loses, or does he just talk bleep when they win?
Talk bleep when they
Okay,
win. Yeah.
he's not a fan.
Like I know this. Like for the most part, I'm pretty Georgia. Like I love the Falcons. Love the
That's
Bulldogs.
not how you start off by saying you're a fanatic.
I
Is
do.
I'm pretty Georgia.
I'm pretty Georgia. I'm a Falcons and Bulldogs fan. I could say the Lakers because I mean, of course, because of Kobe. But I do get emotional when the Lakers lose. Like right now, it's been a very tough year.
Who's your college basketball team, Cam?
I wouldn't say I have one. I know it was Kentucky back in the day because I
No,
like
think
some of
that's
the
perfectly
players.
acceptable to say is that you don't care about.
No,
something.
no.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, back then
Like,
I
just because
did.
you're a Georgia football fan doesn't mean you have to care about the men's golf team. Like it don't.
No,
Like,
yeah.
back then.
Just
I have
don't
no problem
come
there.
over and be like, I'm a coastal Georgia golf fan just because they're out there winning all those national
Nah.
championships.
Yeah.
No,
like, yeah.
back then I cared about Kentucky because I like John Wall and Rondo and Anthony Davis. But as the years has gone on, as I gotten older, I'm like, okay, if they win, they win. They lose, they lose. It doesn't bother me as much anymore. So I'll just say I'm a casual, college basketball watcher. I just
You can
root.
say you enjoy watching college basketball.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
don't
enjoy
call
it.
yourself a Georgia
Right.
fan and a Duke basketball
No,
fan because
no.
if you are, you know what you are. You're a fraud.
No,
And
I
Unless-
wouldn't say that.
Unless I will say
no.
this.
Is there a cat?
There is a caveat. Say you grew up a Georgia fan, PJ. You grew up a Georgia fan,
right?
Pull for the dogs every Saturday, but then you went and got that master's degree at Duke.
Sure.
I think you're allowed to be a Duke basketball fan at that point.
You were there for like a year.
No.
I think you're allowed to be a Duke.
No.
If you have
That's
a letterhead,
okay.
you have a letterhead,
Right.
and you have certificates that say I attended
it has
classes.
to be undergrad.
I
No.
attended classes. I don't agree
Right.
with that.
No,
I don't
it
agree
has
with
to.
that.
That's like me
So
doing.
wait, somebody goes to like Georgia College and State University, Middle Georgia, and then they transfer to Georgia to get their master's. They're not allowed to be a Georgia fan. Meanwhile, 98% of the Georgia fan base has never been to Athens.
I've been at this now, but that's here recent. But no, that's like me doing my master's for UGA, and then I'm like, oh,
you got to pick one unless you got letterhead from the other one. That's all I'm saying.
I get it. I think that's a decent point. I think that where we draw the line there, though, is online classes. Like if you take online classes at Georgia,
if I give Duke like $15,000 to get a degree from an online
You
class,
better
I'm still
okay,
I
get what you're saying. You're putting in all that money. Yeah, I better get something out of this.
So
I'm a camera indoor crazy.
So you paid for your fandom. Then that's what you're
No,
saying.
I paid for my degree. The fandom is just included.
Right.
No, it's included. All that stuff.
When they hand me that diploma, I also get fandom.
That is true.
I will take a caveat on that. Sure.
All right, you better.
I can only brag about one thing athletically from Savannah State. That's Shannon Sharp.
The girls basketball team?
No, Shannon Sharp. That's it.
Girls basketball team has one loss this year.
Yeah, they're killing
they do. They do.
I think they'd probably argue a little bit.
Football team went what? 8-3 last year?
Yeah. No, yeah, 8-3. What about the year before? I think they had
They
one
went
loss?
undefeated in the SEAC because the SEAC was scared.
Whoa.
We didn't let them play in the postseason.
True.
Yeah, that's the year they merged into the SEAC.
Yeah, the SEAC didn't want no smoke.
I'm pretty sure.
Who does?
The girls have a chance to win it. I was there yesterday. But they have, from what I was told from them, they have two teams they have to worry about really, really hard. Benedict and Tuskegee. But they have a chance to make some history. 25-1. So
They already did make some history.
Oh yeah, they did. I think they tied the school record for most wins in the regular season.
And they broke the win streak record with 14. Yep.
Yeah. So
Keep
good
it going.
game yesterday. Keep it going.
All right,
Tough road ahead.
This segment went completely off the rails.
Oh, you're just coming at fans and everything. That was great.
Yeah,
I thought that was fantastic.
Well, we're just educating the masses.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk some college football when we come back because, as I said, we're hitting the doldrums. We can always talk college football here. And listen, I'm not going to be the fraudulent show that hasn't talked about Gonzaga all year. And then when March Madness rolls around, like, here's why Gonzaga could make a run. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, there are so many other shows you can get that from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying turn us off. I want you to stay here. But listen, if you stay here, we're going to reward you with some college football talk.
Yeah, I mean, also like talking about being fraudulent and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like, you don't want to hear about us.
Listen,
you don't want to hear us talk
PJ,
about
wait,
Gonzaga basketball.
Here's what it sounds like. Listen.
It's going to be a bunch of generic stuff.
Yeah, we have to talk real low so they don't hear us. And I'm not talking about the 3-and-out guys. I'm talking about like the national guys.
Oh,
so like
okay.
when you're watching like on a national landscape,
right?
And college football season rolls around,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden the guy who's been talking about the Lakers all year, and the New York Knicks all year, and the Dallas Cowboys all year, all of a sudden they're trying to talk about Auburn's defensive line.
Yeah,
that's what it would sound like if we got on here. I'm not saying Cam. Maybe Cam knows a lot. Maybe you know a lot. But if I got on here and tried to start talking about college basketball, I would sound like those guys trying to talk college football.
Just reading that.
I know a lot about.
And I'm not saying anybody can't talk college football. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't talk about whatever they want to talk about. I'm just telling you what it's going to sound like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bad.
Is that fair?
It's gonna be bad.
Is that fair?
All I'm saying is for those guys, I feel like they do the Anchorman trick with the teleprompter and see if they catch it.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Like Cam Squidward, went out there and won the 2010 national championship.
Oh,
like,
we kind of have something coming.
What you just say?
We have something very similar to that coming here soon on 3-and-out. We'll give you all a hint when that's coming up because we're going to try to get some people on that. But quickly, do want to give a shout out and our thoughts with the guys and gals, I should say, from Fort Stewart, 3rd Infantry Division, 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, both stationed there at Fort Stewart. About 3,800 soldiers deploying just due to the stuff that is going on now in Eastern Europe. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and, of course, everybody in the Ukraine right now going through all of that. But again, 3,800 soldiers from Fort Stewart deploying over as peacekeepers in the area and just kind of staging in and around the Ukraine as the world is just kind of tilting on its axis right now a little bit. So thoughts and prayers with all those soldiers heading over from Fort Stewart. We'll be right back. We got more to come here on Second Down. We'll dive into some college football next. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cam Urshery. Glad to have y'all hanging out with us here as we get you ready for the weekend. PJ, my favorite thing to do on Fridays. What we got coming up this weekend?
things and stuff.
Will we have sports on the radio this weekend?
Good stuff and things.
We have some
definitely have some college basketball, and we have some NBA basketball as well.
There's gonna be some just some hardwood action.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
so
cool.
Basketball coverage up and down the coast all weekend.
PJ Zuko with just the elite.
Yeah,
great. That's my favorite thing to do to him.
No, I do like that. Yeah, it really makes me, sound incredible. Yeah,
before Kevin gives him the schedule for the weekend,
for sure. Yeah.
Just
because that's the thing is like I've already done. I only know these things because we do. I feel like we do this more than any other show, especially like on our station. Like we kind of give the inside access a little bit.
Yeah.
So like I schedule things for the weekend. Like I schedule things for the weekend. So like while I've seen the formats and the things that will be on, like for instance, college basketball and NBA, and I know roundabout like when they're like I know the times they're going to be on. I haven't seen like the actual games themselves. So like I know we're going to have college basketball.
Listen, PJ,
and NBA.
I don't need a filibuster. I just need you to tell me you don't know.
I mean, I already did. I'm just explaining a little bit. Like
no,
I just think it's funny. I think it's fun. No filibustering. They already know. I don't know.
Remember what we say about but. I don't know, but
no, I mean, again, there are buts certainly that take out everything that was said before, but there are also ones that really just are reinforcing. Like, I feel like what I said after but that time just kind of reinforced that I didn't know.
CJ, listen,
that phrase doesn't always count.
Hey, listen, I need you to quit yelling at me, Cam. Are you feeling the hostility in here right now?
No,
because I am. PJ just screaming at me.
Well, maybe that's why. Like maybe I mean.
All right, top of mind. When I say coach on the hot seat in college football in 2022, who's the first guy that comes to mind for you guys?
Should be Brian Harsin.
Wow.
No. It's the what's the Georgia Tech coach name? Coach Collins. Coach, I'll say just Coach Collins. I didn't know
James Franklin.
Yes, he's definitely on the hot seat.
I'm just kidding.
PJ wants it to be James Franklin.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. He just got a
Coach Collins will more than likely, like, if he loses the first 2 to 3 games, he's out of there.
Well, let's pull out their schedule because Georgia Tech's schedule next year is borderline ridiculous. But that's just one thing that you're always going to have to deal with if you're Georgia Tech is you're going to play Clemson every year and you're going to play Georgia every year. It's kind of like being Auburn. It's like, yeah, when you get your schedule, hey, you want to take this job? First thing, you got to play Alabama, Georgia, LSU every single year. And like that's not counting on Arkansas having a really good year, Ole Miss having a good team. So it's just like it's one of those things, big old paychecks, but it is that schedule. I kind of agree with you, Cam. I have another submission that I'm going to throw in here in a little bit, but yeah, let's look at Georgia Tech's schedule real quick. They start with Clemson and Mercedes-Benz, so 0-1. We can probably go ahead and chalk that one up.
Right.
Then they have Western Carolina, which Western Carolina is not a bad football team. The Catamounts there. Then they have Ole Miss at UCF at Pitt.
Heard 3 straight losses.
Very distinct chance Georgia Tech starts this season 1-4.
No, I think they will. Kadon Slovis is at Pitt, correct? Oh yeah. Go ahead and chalk that up.
Which I don't know if like I'm being like,
no, I mean it's not. Kadon Slovis. He's solid though.
He's not going to be Kenny Pickett. Remember, he's a solid quarterback.
Put it like this: before he got hurt, he was projected to be top 10, top 15 this year. So something's there with him.
They were both injury prone, but I mean he was going back and forth with the job out there at USC with JT Daniels also when Daniels was out there. So he's okay.
The NFL is high on him though. Slovis, they're like super high on him for some odd reason. I don't know. I haven't seen him play at all, but 1-4 sounds good. I think I know what other coach you're going to say on the hot seat, but we'll get to that.
No, this is from Jeff Schultz from The Athletic. Just want to read a small portion of this real quick. Jeff Collins has fired 3 assistant coaches, but more telling is that 3 other assistants and the Jackets recruiting coordinator left on their own for other jobs. The major casualties running back Jahmyr Gibbs, whose talents have been wasted for 2 years, will play for Alabama in 2022. Running backs coach and top recruiter Tashard Choice, who went to Georgia Tech, a Tech alum, initially left for a position with the new USC coach Lincoln Riley, and then for Texas. A dozen transferring players is roughly average for a Power 5 program these days. but context is needed. How many of those players at other schools were the best players on their team, like Gibbs? That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Georgia has lost a bunch of players. I think they've had 6 players transfer out. How many starters have you lost? 1, really, with Jermaine Burton.
Oh, yeah, Jermaine Burton. I was trying
Right?
to think, yeah.
A lot of guys in the secondary have transferred out. They've lost an offensive lineman, and JT Daniels is technically in the portal, but he hasn't announced where he's going yet. So, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think Jeff Collins is absolutely in the hot seat. I don't know that they fired him mid-season. I honestly don't know what that contract situation looks like right now. Do you just wait for the end of the season so the buyout's a little bit less before you fire him? Because Georgia Tech doesn't have the war chest where they can just go out and spend $4, $5, $6 million to pay a coach to not work. Right. But at the same time, how much more catastrophic can it get? Because you brought him in to modernize Georgia Tech and to get them back into relevancy, which I think is interesting because Paul Johnson won football games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul Johnson won a BCS bowl, right? Took you to ACC championship games. You haven't even sniffed that.
He beat Georgia, too.
And the excuses are running dry. Where the first couple seasons, the excuses are, hey, we have to replace guys because Paul Johnson didn't recruit like a guy running a modern offense, right? Our offensive linemen are on average 40 pounds lighter than we want them to be. We don't have quarterbacks who can sling it around. We really don't have the receivers we need. Defensively, you've never really had an excuse because Paul Johnson played modern college football defense. Yeah. But offensively, you had kind of an excuse. And then you had COVID come up, which, fine. It's tough, but other coaches have managed to flip their team around. And then NIL, and I think this is the most damning thing, NIL and the transfer portal have come up. And when have we heard about Georgia Tech securing, and again, it can't be Georgia Tech, but the player compensation package that the Georgia Tech booster comes through with, right? Or what Mel Tucker did with Michigan State, where you completely flip your roster in an offseason by pulling guys in. Right now, Georgia Tech's just kind of hemorrhaging great players and pulling in players from other schools that weren't starting.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a good place. And really, that's if you hit this, and this is the worst thing. Really, if you hear about them at all. Like I feel like I haven't heard any big news about Georgia Tech in a long, long time.
Years.
And like that's the worst place you want to be, probably as a college football team and a college football program.
I'll even go as far as this. Like I remember growing up a little bit. I mean, you were kind of like when Georgia plays Georgia Tech, you kind of, I wouldn't say fear them, but you like, okay, still got to.
I would completely disagree with that
because
statement.
the option.
No, I would completely disagree with that statement. Even when it was Chan Gailey, those were dogfights. Every time Georgia played Georgia Tech and there are some years where you get a 42-10, right? Every now and then that's going to happen, but hell, that happens in Georgia, Florida, right? Yeah. But I would say basically every game, at least for like a half, was a dogfight between Georgia Tech and Georgia.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying.
It hasn't been close under Jeff Collins.
No, I wouldn't say I would fear them, but I always knew like it would be a competitive game. Yeah. That I did know growing up.
I would say you absolutely should fear them because then all of a sudden John Dwyer and Roddy Jones are housing you for a couple hundred yards each.
Yeah, like I knew it was always going to be a competitive game when they played for the most part growing up.
Or Harrison Butker's kicking 52-yard field goals to beat you in Sanford Stadium.
And then Coach Johnson ended up, I mean, it kind of went on the downhill, but they still were, it wasn't like they were flat out terrible like they are now. They were still kind of competitive at the time, even when he was on his way out. But now it's like when we play Georgia Tech, sometimes I might not even watch the game.
No, it looks like you're playing Charleston Southern.
Yeah, I might not watch the game because I'm like, well, we could chalk this up because I know my pops, he used to talk crap to me about Georgia because he's a Georgia Tech fan. He'd be like, oh, yeah, you better get ready. I used to be like, you might be right. But now when he says the same thing because he thinks the same thing might happen like years past. And I'm like, dude, it's no point even watching. He watched it one time. It was like 35-0. Like before the second quarter started. So.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say Georgia Tech might be the 4th best FBS team in the state this year. Georgia State's going to be good.
I think Georgia State is better than them.
And Georgia Southern, I don't think people are really wrapping their minds around like the kind of coaching talent that Georgia Southern has there right now and what that offense could potentially look like. That's the thing that kills me about Georgia Tech is they don't have an identity.
Right.
They have no idea what they want to be. Mm-mm. And so there's no offensive threat. It's just kind of, okay, let's try to re-option on this play. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's Okay, let's go 4 wide and we'll kind of try a flood route this way. Okay, that didn't work. All right, halfback draw on third down. It's just there's not a whole lot of identity with Georgia Tech, and kind of what Jeff Schultz said, wasted 2 years of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, even if they are the third best team, it's still Georgia Tech. You should okay, Georgia's ahead of you. You still should be number 2 though. That's the thing.
Well, here's what you don't have is you don't have the buy-in from the fan base.
Yeah.
Did you see Bobby Dodd this past year when Georgia played Georgia
Yeah,
Tech?
it was filled with
embarrassing.
Red
Like,
and black.
Well, I mean, at least there were fans in the stands at that point. Like, but
Oh yeah,
of course
Georgia
they
Tech was
weren't
happy because they were pulling
of course
cash
they weren't
from
your
the ticket
fans,
sales.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was a Sanford Stadium home game,
It's bad.
It's embarrassing.
right? And so,
Yeah.
like at least with Georgia Southern, like Paulson Stadium, that's not going to happen. Like it ain't going to happen. Now,
Mhm.
I'll hear the argument if Georgia came to Paulson Stadium, right? And I'm asking you guys just honest to God. Something happens, they do a 2-for-1, right? Where Georgia Southern goes to Athens twice and Georgia has to come because you think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I watched Miami play at App State not too long ago.
Mhm.
So it's not that crazy to say. If Georgia goes to Sanford Stadium or if to Paulson Stadium, do you think it's all red?
No.
Because I think Georgia Southern fans have too much pride to let
They're
that
I
happen.
showing
think
out. Yeah, they're
if
showing
anything,
out.
it'd be like 64. I mean, Georgia fans are going to pack it
yeah,
out.
they'll-
Even if
go
like this
there,
past year's Georgia Southern team and they're not good and you're in a
Still doesn't
transition
matter.
year,
Nah.
I think Georgia Southern fans have too much pride.
It's a tradition and it's a pride thing at the same time. When you've instilled that into your program, regardless of how bad you are, it's not going to go that way. I don't care who you are. But Georgia Tech, things have changed. I'll put it like that. Things have changed from
Now,
the early.
I have had
2010s.
conversations with some Georgia Tech fans. And they're like, why would I spend money to go watch my team get smacked 52-10? And at that point, if you're an athletic director, you have to make a change.
And the problem is they've known that for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Like, so it's
Oh man, I
And
know
it's
how they
not gonna-
feel.
And like
man.
also at the same time, 10 points is really generous.
yeah, it
Oh
is.
no, that's why I
Especially
laugh.
against
It's
Georgia
very
last year
generous.
with the kind of
I mean, I
defense
know how
had.
they feel, man. Shoot, being them dark days as a Falcons fan, I know how that feels.
I can't remember seeing anything like that in another rivalry. Like, and I understand it's different because it's the same state, and so the travel isn't that crazy. But has Florida ever just completely dominated Doak or flip it around? Has Florida State ever just completely dominated the Swamp? Like I can't remember that happening. Certainly, it's never happened in the Iron Bowl.
Right.
Heck no.
No, certainly, it's never happened in the
Well,
Iron
that's
Bowl.
the
Heck
thing. If
no.
it did, it'd be playing every year in the lead up.
But like,
you know, and
in
you
the
would
big
see
house, right in the horseshoe, like that's never happened.
right.
Auburn was 6-6 this year, and they packed that thing out.
Hell yeah.
No,
Mhm.
that was not
But
happening.
what I would say to the fans who say, why the hell would I go watch my team get beat 50-0? Auburn wasn't supposed to do anything against Alabama.
yeah,
this
they were
year.
supposed to get smoked, and they were a Bryce Young Heisman drive away
Correct.
from beating them.
They were
Yeah.
and I'm not putting on him, but it was a Tank Bigsby staying in bounds away.
Yeah.
From beating Alabama this year. But Jeff Collins, I think, certainly is on the hot seat just because I understand coming into a program that I guess you guys had diagnosed, not saying you guys, but Georgia Tech had diagnosed as broken, right? Because you don't fire a coach if you don't think something's wrong with the program, right?
Yeah.
So I understand you're going to take some lumps, but I think you have to have, even if it's just like 1 degree angle, you have to show some sort of progress
Mhm.
coming forward, right? And record isn't always indicative of that, right? Because you can have an absolutely brutal schedule, but you have to, like, in the gameplay, in the margins, right? In the quarterback percentage, in the recruiting, in the yards before contact for your running back, in the margins of the game,
Look competitive.
you have to show some sort of pulse. And eventually it's not going to be competitive though, because right, Georgia Tech didn't have a chance against Georgia this year. But if you can just show a pulse where you're just not doing stupid things and you seem like you're well coached, because football comes down to depth, and they just don't have the depth to compete
I've
against
watched
teams like
games
that.
where teams lose like 42-21, and you're like, but it wasn't really a 21-point game. I mean,
Right.
it was a
Yeah.
competitive game.
Show
Right,
the
of
fight.
course.
I'm not saying the players aren't playing their tails off. I'm just saying it's just as a program in and of itself. And I think a good example of that, and the reason this coach still has a job, is Scott Frost.
Yeah.
Right. If you just looked at their record, you'd be like, why the hell is Scott Frost still the head coach there? But then you look at the scores,
He competed.
and there was like the record they got very easily could have gone 4 or 5 wins the other way.
Mhm.
Right. And so that's what you're looking at if you're an athletic director. Isn't necessarily the record, it's fan engagement, I think, is number one. Because if you start losing the fan base and you're losing the money, it's time to make a change. But number 2 is the margins. is where are we at? And Nebraska, I think, is headed in the right direction with Scott Frost, even if the record doesn't necessarily indicate it. Go look at the scores from last year. And there were some boneheaded plays.
Yeah.
And PJ, you probably know more about this than I would, but I think Nebraska is just a quarterback away. I know Adrian Martinez was everybody loved him out there.
Right, but I also
they had him in Heisman voting.
I don't watch a lot of Nebraska football, but one thing I will say is like the other thing and the other trend that we talked about with Collins and now with Frost as well is at least with Frost and Nebraska, like from the moment he got there, he was like, we are this type of team.
Yep.
You know
There's
the
an
brand.
identity.
You know exactly. You know what they're going to come with. And with Collins, it's like you were supposed to be maybe he was just supposed to be the bridge guy to get Georgia Tech from the option to something else. But you got to choose what that something else is at some point and have your guys, have your program, have your fans actually know. And every Georgia Tech fan I talk to has no idea. And I understand why, because you look at them and you don't see any consistency.
There ain't nothing. There's just no hope. And I think that's the biggest problem. Now, flip side of that. So he said Jeff Collins is on the hot seat because he has just not even lost the fan base. He's lost the interest of the fan base. I think Jimbo Fisher's on the hot seat for the complete opposite reason.
Wow.
You have the complete attention and focus of that fan base.
Yeah,
right?
I knew you
have every, well, it's because he's up on my computer screen.
No. I knew it beginning of the segment.
You have the focus and you have the money coming in, and you have oil guys doing all kinds of crazy NIL deals, and you have a bunch of 5-star coming in, just signed your best recruiting class ever. You have the eyes of that entire fan base on you, and you have the full support of that entire fan base on you. And 3 of your first 4 seasons there, you've had 4 losses.
I give them this year, you got to have the only loss you could take is Alabama.
I will say this. You need to be going into the Alabama game
undefeated.
Yeah, you have to be going into that game, or I'd say with 1 loss. If you have 1 loss, I get it because you're still playing for first place in the West at that point.
I'm of the notion like your only loss this year could be Alabama. I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't think they play Georgia. If they do, then I'll give you a break.
They do not play Georgia. Georgia has a very easy schedule.
Okay, so there you go. If I'm Texas A&M and I'm the AD, whoever is in charge of that,
run it through it real
quick.
Get
1.
This is kind of an awesome beginning to the season.
Okay.
Sam Houston to start it off with, fine. App State, get lit. Then Miami. So 3 straight home games.
Yeah.
Sam Houston, App State, Miami, and then you do the neutral site game with Arkansas, which last year was the beginning of the Sam Pittman hype train, and then 3 straight road games at Mississippi State, at Alabama, at South Carolina. So leading up to that, you have Sam Houston State, App State, Miami, and Arkansas. If they win those 4 games, they're going to be a top 5 team going into that Alabama.
Well, you have, in my opinion, if you're Jimbo, you've been here for a while. What, 4? This going to his 5th year?
Yeah.
You have to win all those games. I mean, the program you've built, number 1 recruiting class.
They should be favored by double digits in all of
those games. Yeah. You got to win those games, and they're at home too. And then you got a neutral site with Arkansas.
Yep,
and you lost them last
Mississippi
year.
State's going to be interesting because I think Will Rogers is really good, and Mike Leach. That's going to be interesting. And Davis Wade Stadium is awesome, great fan base down there. So that's interesting. But no, certainly should be undefeated going in to Alabama with some pretty marquee wins. I'd say if you have App State, Miami, Arkansas, Mississippi State, that's probably as good as anybody's resume at that point in the season. But I think you have to be going into that game playing for something. And then even if you lose to Alabama, right, just keep it competitive the whole time. Try to stay in there. So if Alabama does drop a couple, you can hop in there. But I think if Jimbo Fisher's 1 loss is to Alabama at the end, that's fine. It's if you lose to Alabama and then all of a sudden you have like a wheels coming off where you lose to Ole Miss.
Because I see that stretch. Ole Miss, Florida, and Auburn.
At Alabama, at South Carolina, home against Ole Miss, home against Florida, at Auburn, UMass, and LSU. There's going to be a weird one there where they lose it, and that fan base is going to be losing their ever-loving minds. Let's take a quick break. We got more college football talk coming your way. Chris Yokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cam Ursher here on Second Down. We'll be back after this. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Chris Yokel alongside PJ Zuko. All right, you guys say you love NBA free agency, NFL free agency, meh, kind of okay.
It was lit last year.
It was kind of, yeah, but like of all the pro sports, probably not the best.
It's like every 5 or 6 years
Sure.
it's good. But
And then Major League Baseball free agency is awesome, but we don't have it right now because there's no Major League Baseball at the moment. But
there you
I
go.
present to you something that's better than all of them.
Mm.
Football analyst free agency.
Wow.
Troy Aikman has reportedly signed a deal with ESPN to take over as their Monday Night Football lead analyst for a salary that is going to overtake that of one Tony Romo. So we got Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks just taking each other out,
Duking
right?
it out.
Love that. Love that. Al Michaels, just the biggest whale out there
Mhm.
that you could potentially get. His contract is up, and so he's being bid on by Amazon, by ESPN, everyone going after them because Amazon now owns Thursday Night Football. So everybody's going after Al Michaels. So he's out there in free agency. And now reportedly, because Fox Sports, who has 2 Super Bowls in the next 3 years, is missing their number one second chair guy, right? Their number one analyst is gone. Aikman out. They're reportedly working on a deal to try to go get Drew Brees
Whoa.
from NBC.
Okay.
But the actual verbiage inside of this report is trade. They're working on a trade with NBC, which I love because now the sports
That's
world
amazing.
is leaking into the business world, albeit in a sports related category,
Of course.
but it's leaking. But what I find funny is this. Can you imagine, PJ, if because you and Kevin do the same thing, and it's a lot of work, but like a lot of your job overlaps, right? Where you guys are doing a lot of the same things. We have a bunch of stations, right? Your jobs kind of overlap. But can you imagine if there was like our boss decided he wants some like hot new writer who's out there and he's like, heard you guys are looking for a traffic coordinator.
Yeah.
And then you just walk into work one day and it's just me or Kevin coming up to you going, hey, PJ, I'm going to need you to clear out your office.
Instead of it's like, hey man, do you have your handbook?
Yeah.
Hey, can you come in, bring your handbook? Like, oh no.
Hey, PJ, what's up, man? Coach needs to talk to you. You've been traded.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Or if we're just like, hey, Cam, listen, we're looking for an over 6 foot tall board operator because we need a board that's a little bit higher. The next radio space.
Why is
The
it always
board's going to
hype
be
with
up a
this
little
guy?
bit higher. We just don't feel like you have the right intangibles. We're trading you for a second round pick.
Second round pick. Okay. I mean, if I'm
Well,
worth
listen,
that,
it's a stretch
okay,
for
I'm
a
worth
first.
that.
All right, I'm just saying it's a stretch for a first.
That would be
I'm
wild.
worth that. I guess
So
I'll be
wait,
worth
I
that.
lost it though a little bit. Like, who's the other part of the trade? If they're trading,
that one hasn't been. I mean, are they
Really? Okay.
would they consider trading Greg Olson?
who's he even with? Who's he with right now?
The trading commentator.
I
Lord
loved
have-
it.
I hate it. Lord have mercy.
Who would be the highest valued commentator in the world right now? Like, who needs 3 first round picks?
Okay, who are we talking about? Are we
Like
talking
anywhere in
about
sports,
play by play or ooh?
either or.
I know Gus
Oh,
Johnson is up
commentators.
there. Gus Johnson's about 3-4 first
Because
round
I would
picks.
put Al Michaels as like the golden, but also at the same time, how many years does Al Michaels have left? You know, he's kind of in the fourth
It's
quarter of
true.
that career there.
You know what?
Oh my
If you're talking
gosh.
college football,
Yeah.
and this might,
I
this,
think Kirk might be the highest.
that's what I'm
valued
saying.
one,
This
yeah.
might just be. I love Kirk Herbstreit, but like if you're talking college football, everyone wants Kirk Herbstreit, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
he
you're-
might be the highest one, about 5 first
And
round
not only
picks.
that,
he's the
he
voice
comes-
of college football.
Yeah, he comes with what 20 years of experience,
Yeah.
and he's got like
And then
25
PJ
years
saying that
left.
about an Ohio State quarterback.
Well, I
That's
mean, he
impressive.
said a lot of nice things about Penn State, so I'm just returning the favor.
That's fair.
No, but he's incredible. No, I've always thought that. This is touchy because I feel like the NFL guys, like some of the NFL guys, are very you either love them or you hate them. But I
Yeah.
love Chris Collinsworth. What do you feel? I feel like he'd be pretty.
Oh
Pretty
God, Brad
well
Nessler.
valued.
Oh, I love Brad Nessler.
Oh, Brad
He'd-
Nessler. For
He'd
sure.
certainly be up
That
there.
kinda thing.
I would trade my entire team for Vern Lundquist if I can get him to come out of retirement.
I
Right.
know NBA, I'll go Mike Breen and Mark Jackson.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I know he's not a commentator, but like Ernie Johnson, like he's
Yeah.
gotta be. He's
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
up
goodness
there.
gracious.
he's up
Ernie,
there.
Ernie. I mean,
Yeah.
what we consider like a front office guy. That would be Ernie.
Yeah. Yeah, front office guy. I'll still go Mike Breen and Mark Jackson. Those are my 2 top guys.
What about Susie Colbert?
Who's that? Susie Colbert.
NBA sideline? No, not doing anything for
He'd
you.
be up there. Who?
I think she'd be
I gotta say, I gotta put a face
way
to
up
it.
there.
Gotta put a face to it.
We gotta take a break. We'll come back. Well, I can't put a face to the name. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more second down after this. We have a new contender for the number 1 overall pick.
You see like smoke coming out of the door.
We have a new contender. Doris Burke
Yes. Yep.
can do everything.
Yeah, it'd be between Doris or Dick.
A little Dickie V action.
Yeah.
I love
Dickie
those are the
V.
goats.
Yeah, I love Dickie V. I can't lie. It'd be her. It'd be Doris or Dickie V. I'm selling in on those two.
We're gonna
So,
do this next week. We're
Make
gonna
'em
do
shoot for it.
We're doing a draft. So
Game-
like, what
Game
sports?
to 10.
If we all have our own sports league, what sports do we have to fill out commentating teams for? I would say pro football,
Yeah.
pro basketball, college
football.
football, baseball.
Yeah.
One more. Come on.
Do we have to do baseball?
We have to do baseball because Buster Olney and Tim Kirchin are coming through hot.
Are we doing college basketball or are we doing NASCAR?
Oh yeah, college basketball.
Well, NASCAR's tough.
I know. I'm just kidding.
NASCAR's so tough.
I threw that in honestly as a joke. We're good.
College basketball.
We don't need that.
We can put college basketball in there too, even though I feel like.
Is it like
Dickie V.
redundant?
Can I dip into the radio
Gus
crew?
Johnson back in the
Can
day.
I dip into the radio crew and go get Ion Eagle in here?
Oh, why not?
The dude's a legend.
He's incredible. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of legends, 3 and Out coming up next right here on ESPN Radio. We'll talk to everybody on Monday.